Hello folks, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In this video, we will be discussing Polity Prelims previous year questions on the topic of Union and State Legislature in the culmination of completely Parliament, your central state relations, federal features, right? All of these. Now, when we will be discussing these topics, first and foremost, how we will be going about it means, first we will see the question, we will see the answer for that question and based on the analysis, and most importantly next we will see why did UPSC ask this question, what is it trying to test you from this topic. Once you get to know this, then reading the topic becomes easier. How? So that you will know which areas to focus on, what kind of questions are asked from a particular topic. Alright. Now, first we will be starting from your 2025 prelims questions onwards. So, like we said, in this video you can expect the questions, the answer, analysis, why UPSC is asking this, based on all this, how should you study these topics. These are high yielding topics for your UPSC prelims. Alright, this video is presented to you by your faculty Sushma KP. Now let's get started. The first question, 2025 question, it's a statement kind of question. It states, consider the following statements. On the dissolution of the House of People, the Speaker shall not vacate his or her office until immediately before the first meeting of the House of People after the dissolution. So now if you observe one thing largely throughout in this video, you will see is on parliament topics there will be a lot of statement kind of questions, and also many times what will happen is the statements will appear too big in length and sentences. Like it says it's the 87th question of your A pattern. So by that time you have reached there, your concept of understanding with patience or with the time constraint reduces considerably. So what I would suggest for these kind of longer questions is break down the questions. Okay, break down the questions into smaller forms, first thing. Second thing is underline the keywords. So you have to grasp on it in a simpler manner. What is this? On the dissolution of House of People. Here their meaning Lok Sabha. So on dissolution of Lok Sabha, Speaker shall not vacate his or her office immediately before first meeting of the House of People after the dissolution. In simpler sense they are asking, should Speaker vacate? Here they are telling not vacate. Speaker will not vacate Lok Sabha after dissolution. This is what this statement is telling. Understanding? Now let's go to the second statement. According to the provision of the Constitution of India, a member of the House of People, on being elected as a speaker, shall resign from his or her political party immediately. Look at this. According to the provisions, they are telling this thing is there in the Constitution of India. Member of the House of the People, that is your MP of Lok Sabha, on becoming a speaker shall resign from his political party, and the keyword immediately. Understanding? So this is the second statement. Third statement. The Speaker of the House of People, Speaker of Lok Sabha, may be removed from his or her office by a resolution of the House of People. Resolution, removed, House of People, passed by a majority of all the then members. Majority of all the then members of the House, provided that no resolution shall be moved unless at least 14 days notice has been given of the intention to move the resolution. Now, in the third statement, the Speaker of the Lok Sabha will be removed from his or her office by a passing of majority of all the then members. This means effective majority. The word the then itself means effective majority, and they're telling 14 days notice. Now look at this. Is there a provision that tells Lok Sabha is dissolved? Understanding? But does it mean that speaker has to immediately vacate it? No. He will wait until the next session comes into place. So this statement is wrong. Oh no, they are asking not vacate, right? So yes, then in this case, the statement is correct. He will not vacate the house. Okay, the speaker will not vacate the house. That is what I meant in the explanation, that he will wait for the next term. So this statement is right. Second, according to the provision of the constitution, MP of your Lok Sabha, if he is elected, he will resign from his political party immediately. And look at the keyword here, they are telling it is there in the Constitution of India. See, what happens is, what is done as convention, if it is told, it is there in Constitution of India, that does not mean it is correct. So here UPSC is even asking this question is to confuse you with convention and your constitution. So the statement is wrong. Understanding? Last statement. Speaker of the House of Lok Sabha will be removed from his or her office by effective majority and 14 days advance notice has to be given. Correct. So the correct options are 1 and 3 only. Understanding? Now, according to the first statement, the speaker does not vacate the seat of speaker as your Lok Sabha gets dissolved, and like I mentioned, they will continue until the first session as in when the new Lok Sabha convenes. So this makes sure that there is a continuity of the office. Second statement tells that it is a constitutional requirement to resign from a political party. This is what here, convention and constitution are being tested in this particular statement. So this will be a trap kind of statement. Removal by effective majority, 14-day prior notice, this is usually there. So what exactly is UPSC trying to test here means constitutional literacy. Understand whether is it actually mentioned in the constitution, is that what constitution is meaning, or is that how your concept of convention works. Okay, so here is where you have to see convention versus constitution trap question. Okay, now look at the next question. This is also 2025 question. Consider the following statements. If any question arises as to whether a member of the House of People has become subject to disqualification under 10th schedule, the President's decision in accordance with the opinion of Council of Union Ministers shall be final. So like as usual, first let us pick the keywords of the question. MP of Lok Sabha disqualification under 10th schedule President's decision with the opinion of Council of Minister shall be final. So according to this statement, they are telling if at all an MP of Lok Sabha has to be removed based on disqualification, and that too on the grounds of 10th schedule anti-defection, then the decision of President and COM is final. That is what this statement is stating. The second statement is there is no mention of the word political party in the Constitution of India. What are they asking? They are asking which of the above statements are correct. Now let's take a look at this. Lok Sabha MP disqualification based on 10th schedule has nothing to do with president or COM. It has everything to do with the Speaker of Lok Sabha or Chairman of Rajya Sabha. Yes. Why is President and COM coming in here? See, understand few very important things here. When you say disqualification of an MP, that's a broad term. Understanding? Disqualification on an MP of an MP based on 10th schedule or anti-defection means Speaker comes into picture. Now, apart from this disqualification of a member, apart from 10th schedule, then only president comes into picture, and that too not with the COM advice based on election commission. Your COM has nothing to do with the disqualification. They will not in any way tell the decisions. Understanding? So first statement is wrong. Second statement, there is no mention of the word political party in the Constitution of India. See, in the 10th schedule when they added, they clearly introduced the word political party. Understanding 52nd constitutional amendment. Before that, yes, there was no political party. But after the introduction of 10th schedule, there is a mention of the term political party in the constitution. So here they are telling no mention. So that means this statement is wrong. So both the statements are wrong. So the correct option is neither 1 nor 2. Look at this. Statement 1 is telling defection disqualification in Lok Sabha will be by Speaker, in Rajya Sabha by Chairman, not of President. Here again I told you disqualification is a broad term. Disqualification due to defection is where this provision will work. According to Article 103, President is the one that will decide on other disqualifications apart from defections based on the advice of Election Commission of India, not COM. They will not be interfering. Next, the political party was added in your 52nd constitutional amendment, wherein they introduced the concept of your whip, party whip. You have to follow that on with respect to voting, elections, all of those. So what exactly was your UPSC trying to test here? First and foremost, this vague memory somewhere you will have. Okay, president is the one that determines on disqualification. Is the trap there? Your common assumption, because it is used in some other place, itself becomes a trap here. So these kind of things should act as an exceptions, which means you have to mark it out an asterisk and write it down separately when you read defection. Understanding? And second thing, the political party, right? Again, because you're speaking about anti-defection, they are able to make this connection. Defection cases are decided by the head of that particular house, chairman or the speaker, other your president and election commission, no involvement of COM. So 2025 prelims question on this topic is done. Next we will venture into 2024 prelims question. Okay, look at this question. Which of the following statements are correct in respect of a money bill in Parliament? So we are going to pick out the correct ones about money bill. Article 109 mentions a special procedure in respect of money bills. Yes, 109 speaks about money bill. A money bill shall not be introduced in the Council of States, which is Rajya Sabha. True. It is not introduced in Rajya Sabha, it is introduced in Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha can either approve the bill or suggest changes but cannot reject it. Yes, because Rajya Sabha has uneven powers with Lok Sabha in this regard. As in, Lok Sabha has more powers with regarding to a money bill than compared to a Rajya Sabha. That does not mean you should you think Rajya Sabha is a weaker body or compared to Legislative Council at any point. They just have uneven powers. In certain areas, Rajya Sabha has an upper hold, for example, like your All India Service Creation, okay? In money bill, okay? In no confidence motion, cut motions, all these pay, Lok Sabha has a precedence. So according to that statement, this is correct. It can either approve the bill or suggest the changes, but it cannot reject it. Amendments to a money bill suggested by Rajya Sabha have to be accepted by Lok Sabha. Look at the wordings. Another aspect about your UPSC question you have to understand is wording trap. Okay, so this is a wording trap. Have to be accepted. No, Lok Sabha can either accept it or reject all of it. Understanding? So this statement is wrong. So correct ones is what they are asking. So it is 1, 2 and 3. Correct options are 1, 2 and 3. Look at this. Rajya Sabha can only recommend the amendments. These are not binding on Lok Sabha. Either it can accept or reject them. With respect to your money bills, there is a bicameral asymmetry, which means unequal powers they have. Lok Sabha has a upper hand with respect to Rajya Sabha in financial matters. So this is why Rajya Sabha cannot make a reject it or make a binding amendment on Lok Sabha. So why is UPSC asking this type of questions? Simple thing. Recommend versus amend wordings. That is what I told you. This is wording kind of trap of questions. You have to be very careful with respect to the wordings that you see. That is why how you will make sure you will not miss out on that. Keywords, okay, breaking down the statement. By and max they have this 14 days rule. If they don't do anything by them, it is still passed. Okay, look at this. This is the next question. Now, this question is about your ethics committee. Which of the following statements about the ethics committee in the Lok Sabha are correct? So here they are asking about ethics committee and which of the statements are correct. Initially it was an ad hoc committee or a temporary committee. Yes, ethics committee initially started out in 2000 as your ad hoc or temporary committee. Then it was given the standing status or permanent committee. So this statement is correct. Only a member of Lok Sabha can make a complaint relating to unethical conduct of a member of Lok Sabha. So you are telling only Lok Sabha member can report about the activities of Lok Sabha member. Don't you think that will defeat the purpose of having an ethics committee? So here the concept of only a member, no, any member. Okay, this statement is wrong only because of this word only. Understanding? So again, the wordings are very important for you to look into. Next, this committee cannot take up any matter which is sub judice, which means which is something already pending in front of judiciary. So that is correct. This committee will not take up any matter which is already pending in front of your judiciary. So the correct options are 1 and 3 only. Okay. And look at this. Ethics committee was initially constituted as an ad hoc committee in 2000. Then it was made as a standing committee. Complaints can be made by any person. It is not that if you are from Lok Sabha, only a member from Lok Sabha should tell it. And lastly, it makes sure that there is a strict separation of your legislature, executive, judiciary aspects and separation of powers. That is why they did not take up any cases which is pending in front of judiciary. Why is UPSC asking this question? First and foremost, they are trying to compare your ad hoc committees and permanent committees. And the aspect that the complaint receiving can be from any person, that is, can be made by any person. So here the only MPs, again here the wording trap and also the origin of the house, that is this committee is what they are asking. Look at this next question. Okay. With reference to the Speaker of Lok Sabha, consider the following statement. while any solution for the removal of Lok Sabha is under consideration, while any removal of the Speaker of Lok Sabha. So, what are they asking about? Speaker ka removal. He or she shall not preside. According to your principles of natural justice, your speaker themselves will not come and sit and decide their own future. So, he or she shall not preside is correct. He or she shall not have the right to speak. No, why not? Every person has a fair chance of fair hearing. Now, when you tell there is the concept of fair hearing there, then you have to be able to represent and showcase your side of the points. So, when you tell shall not have the right to speak, that violates your right to fair hearing or your right to justice. So, this statement is wrong. He or she shall not be entitled to vote on the resolution in the first instance. See, with regarding to a MP, they all can vote in first instance. But when you become a speaker, you have casting vote. You do not vote in first instance, you vote only in case of tie. Here, when they are no longer going to be the speaker, they are no longer the speaker, then they no longer have casting vote, but they can vote in first instance. Here they are asking shall not be entitled. No, they are entitled to vote in first instance. So this statement also is wrong. What are they asking? Which of the above given statements are correct? The only correct statement is one only. Okay. As we discussed, speaker shall not preside where the resolution for his removal is being discussed, and the speaker can participate, he can talk, he can defend himself, right? Speaker can vote in the first instance, but he will not exercise his casting vote. Why is UPSC asking this question? Simple, they are trying to see about the removal and procedure. First instance vote and casting vote. Again, the trap of how the voting concept for speaker is. And another aspect is the principles of natural justice. You cannot preside in your own case. Understanding? This is next question. Have a look at this. With reference to the Indian Parliament, consider the following statements. A bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses on its dissolution. See, first and foremost, with respect to the bill lapses, you should not generalize as to which house it is, it will just lapse off. See the status of which stage that bill is in. Okay, just because a bill is in Lok Sabha or a bill is pending somewhere, okay, you shouldn't let's say generalize the statements. Why, you will come to know. A bill passed by Lok Sabha and pending in the Rajya Sabha lapses on the dissolution of Lok Sabha. This is let's say Lok Sabha has passed, it has gone to Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha has not yet taken an action on it. Understanding? But it is pending there. That point of time Lok Sabha lapses, means this bill whichever is there also lapses because no action has been yet taken on that bill by your Rajya Sabha. A bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses in the dissolution, which means action is not taken by Lok Sabha itself. This is also correct. Next, a bill in regard to which the President of India notified his or her intention to summon the houses to a joint sitting lapses on the dissolution of Lok Sabha. See, first and foremost, President will notify there is going to be a joint sitting, means then that particular bill is preserved. As in, let's say if the present Lok Sabha dissolves also, the next upcoming Lok Sabha session will be continued. Understanding? So, it will not lapse. So, this statement is wrong. The correct options are 1 and 2 only. Okay. Now, why is UPSC asking this question? Again, President has notified his intent for joint sitting under Article 108 means that bill is going to be preserved, which means that bill does not lapse. This gets carried over for the next Lok Sabha. First and foremost is on the bill lapses. Be very careful. Understanding it is a straightforward static questions which you should not leave nor lose marks. So if a bill is pending in Lok Sabha, then that bill will lapse if Lok Sabha dissolves. If it is passed by Lok Sabha but it is still pending in Rajya Sabha, wherein Rajya Sabha has not taken any action, then that bill will lapse upon Lok Sabha's dissolution. But if at all a joint sitting has been called for, then that bill will not lapse. Okay. So what is your UPSC trying to ask? The pending bill concept. Any bill pending anywhere doesn't mean that it will just lapse. Where is it pending? What are the actions that House has taken also has to be looked into. Okay. So this is very important. Your lapsing of bill. Next question. Have a look at this. Okay. Now, with reference to the Parliament of India, consider the following statements. Prorogation of a house by the President of India does not require the advice of COM. First of all, prorogation of house means ending the session of the house. Okay. So here the statement is telling ending the session of a house by President of India does not require the advice of COM. See, first and foremost, you understand one simple concept. India ka president is the head of the state. He is more of a ceremonial or symbolic position. Now see, when we will be discussing with respect to your president and governor, there are many times we have discussed about discretion, yes, constitutional discretion and situational discretion. Your president of India has very minute concept of acting on his own. That minute concept also comes because of your situational discretion, not constitutional discretion. So here when you are telling it is the discretion of the president to when he will end the house without the aid and advice of COM, that statement will become wrong, because there is very little scope for discretion or president doing what he wants on his own. That is what we are calling it as discretion. So no, prorogation of the house by the president requires the aid and advice of COM. Second statement. Prorogation of the house is generally done after the house is adjourned sine die, but there is no bar to the President of India prorogating the house which is in session, which means ending the session. See, adjournment sine die and all your speaker does. Adjournment sine die is when you stop the session without informing a proper recall date as to when we will convene back. So usually adjournment sine die is given before your prorogation. Also, look at the terminology here. They have mentioned generally done. Yes, so prorogation or ending the session is generally done after sine die. But if at all president feels like he has to end it before, he can do that. So this statement is appearing more generalistic than pointing at anything. So the statement is correct. Next, dissolution of Lok Sabha is done by the President of India, who, save in exceptional circumstances, does so on the advice of Council of Ministers. To also look at the statement, this is the same like your previous statement, but it is more generalistic in nature, meaning what? Dissolution of Lok Sabha is done by President of India up until here, correct? In exceptional circumstances, does so on the advice of Council of Ministers. What is this non-exceptional circumstances? Let's say they've lost the majority. That point of time, he doesn't have to listen to a COM, which has lost the majority of the people, house of people. So this statement is correct. The correct options are 2 and 3. So what is it? Prorogation, President will do according to Article 85, but he will act according to the aid and advice of COM as per your Article 74. Saying it does not require will mean discretion. Constitutional discretion is not there for President of India. Here they are also trying to discuss your 3 topics. Why UPSC asking this question means they are mixing up 3 topics: adjournment, prorogation and dissolution of house. All these 3 are tested in this question. Okay, so these tools become extremely important for you to focus on in your parliament topic. Adjournment is done by the presiding officer, which ends the house. Adjournment sine die also done by your presiding officer, which is in order to make sure that okay, there is no specified reconvene date. Prorogation is done by president, which ends the very life of the session, and dissolution is something that ends the entire life of the Lok Sabha, which is dissolution is applicable only to Lok Sabha. Why Rajya Sabha is a permanent house. So why UPSC is asking question on this particular topic here? First and foremost, aid and advice principle. Second thing is to distinguish between your adjournment, prorogation and dissolution. Okay, these are common topics which have been the areas of target in Parliament. Okay, so up until now, what and all have we discussed? About the Speaker's office position, your disqualification of MPs, especially on the grounds of your anti-defection. Then with respect to your money bills, okay, the uneven position. Ethics committee, we have discussed about the removal of the speaker. We have also discussed about the bill lapsing and prorogation principles. Okay, next we will enter into 2023 prelims questions. Okay, now have a look at this question. With reference to the finance bill and money bill in the Indian Parliament, consider the following statements. Here they are asking about finance bill and money bill. Understanding? When the Lok Sabha transmits finance bill to the Rajya Sabha, it can amend or reject the bill. See, first and foremost, understand that finance bill is like any other normal ordinary bill, which means Rajya Sabha has the power to amend or reject the bill. Which bill can Rajya Sabha not reject? Your money bills. So non-money bills or nothing but your ordinary bills can be rejected by Rajya Sabha. Your finance bill is nothing but an ordinary bill. So if it is an ordinary bill, Rajya Sabha can amend and reject the bill. The statement is correct. When the Lok Sabha transmits money bill to Rajya Sabha, it cannot amend or reject the bill, it can only make the recommendations. Yes, that is the entire point of difference. Money bill cannot be rejected, whereas the ordinary bill can be rejected. Yes, this both sits correct. Last point. In the case of disagreement between the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, there is no joint sitting for money bill. Correct. Because Rajya Sabha has no option for rejecting only, no? So up until here statement is fine. But a joint sitting becomes necessary for a finance bill. Look at the wording here. Necessary for a finance bill. There is no bill that it becomes necessary to have a joint sitting. It happens in a rare exceptional scenario. So this statement becomes wrong. So what is the question asking? How many of the above statements are correct? Only one, only two, only all three? None. Only two statements are correct, which are statement 1 and statement 2. So option is only 2. Okay. So you have to understand the difference between your finance bill and money bill. First and foremost, you have to see which bill has what precedence, which bill has what provision in the constitution, and also most importantly, you have to make down, that is write down these differences and focus more on this area because questions are asked in these differences. Understanding? Next, we will enter into your 2022 prelims question. Look at this question. Which of the following is the exclusive power of Lok Sabha? Now this is another targeted area where a lot of questions has been asked on similar area, wherein uneven powers of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Focus very much on this because more questions are prone to come in this area. So what are we asking? Exclusive power of Lok Sabha, which means in which of these Lok Sabha alone has a upper hand. to ratify the declaration of emergency. Here ratify means to tell yes we can impose emergency. No, emergency pe both Lok Sabha Rajya Sabha are needed. So this is not exclusive power of Lok Sabha. To pass a motion of no confidence against Council of Ministers, or this again questions or brings back the topic of collective responsibility. Your Council of Ministers, even though if they are from, let's assume, the Rajya Sabha, they are still collectively responsible to your Lok Sabha. Your Prime Minister, Council of Ministers, etc. hold the office as long as they enjoy the support of Lok Sabha. Once they lose the support of Lok Sabha, they are no longer in power. So how will they lose the support in your Lok Sabha? That is when they pass no confidence motion. So no confidence motion can be passed against a Council of Ministers by Lok Sabha only. This is adhering to the principle of collective responsibility. Last, to impeach the President of India. President of India is not just President of Lok Sabha. Is President of Lok Sabha, President of Rajya Sabha, President of your state legislatures, everything. So, no. In this, both Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha will participate. One interesting thing here you have to notice, the state legislatures take part in the election of President of India, but they do not take part in the impeachment of President of India. Your non-elected members of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha will not take part. Again, look at the words I'm using. Non-elected members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha will not take part in the election process of president, but will take part in the impeachment process of the president. So these kind of words, terminology, statements, extremely important for you. So what are they asking? The correct answer, the correct option is statement 2 only. So look at this. Emergency ratification, both houses are needed. No confidence motion, specific power to your Lok Sabha only. Rajya Sabha does not have the power to pass your no confidence motion. And impeachment of president, either house can initiate it as both of their powers. And both are needed. So why UPSC is asking this question in the first place? It is to test between your exclusive and shared powers. Okay, so this becomes extremely important. Like I told you, your Lok Sabha dominates which matters and Rajya Sabha dominates which matters becomes important, and also they are trying to test your parliament, legislature and executive relationship. Look at this is the next question. With reference to the Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha, consider the following statements. As per the rules of procedure and conduct of business in Lok Sabha, the election of Deputy Speaker shall be held on such a date as the Speaker may fix. What they are asking means, Deputy Speaker ka election date will be as such the Speaker fixes. Correct only. It is the Deputy Speaker when to pick, the Speaker only has to tell, then only it will be moved ahead. The statement is correct. There is a mandatory provision that the election of a candidate as a Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha shall be from either the principal opposition party or the ruling party. Look at this mandatory provision that election of a candidate of Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha should come from opposition party. There is no mandatory provisions for this. Okay, this mandatory provision is not there. Okay, these are all usually guided by conventions. Last point, the third point, the Deputy Speaker has the same powers as of the Speaker when presiding over the sittings of the House, and no appeal lies against his rulings. Correct. What is it? We are telling Deputy Speaker has same powers of Speaker when presiding over the sitting of the House. When Deputy Speaker acts as the Speaker, then he has all the powers of Speaker. What is one of the powers of Speaker? No appeals lie against his ruling. This is correct. Last, the well-established parliamentary practice regarding appointment of Deputy Speaker is that the motion is moved by the Speaker and duly seconded by the Prime Minister. Why should it be duly seconded by the Prime Minister? It can be any member. So this statement becomes wrong. What are they asking in this question? Which of the above given statements are correct? So Correct options are 1 and 3 only. Okay. Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha ka powers becomes important for you because again constitutional mandate is not there, only conventions are followed. A Deputy Speaker election is date is fixed by Speaker, and first and foremost it can be seconded by any particular member, not just a PM. Another aspect is why is UPSC asking this kind of questions? Its favorite topic is rules versus convention trap. Okay, what might appear like a convention and accepted norm can be twisted and called as a rule. Okay, so this is something that you have to understand. Look at this next question. With reference to anti-defection law in India, consider the following statements. So what are we talking about here? Anti-defection law, 10th schedule of the Constitution. The law specifies that a nominated legislator cannot join any political party within 6 months of being appointed to the House. In fact, it is the reverse. Nominated person can join a political party within the first 6 months only. Right? So this statement is wrong. It is just reversing the statement and telling. So in this, what I want you to notice or observe is the UPSC can sometimes change the rule in the reverse order, like in this statement. The law does not provide any time frame within which the presiding officer has to decide a defection case. This is true. It does not provide any time frame. So what are they asking in the question? Which of the above statements are correct? It is 2 only. Okay. So a nominated person can join a party within the first 6 months. If in fact if he joins after 6 months is where it will lead to disqualification. 10th schedule has no timelines provided. Why exactly is UPSC targeting on this question? The anti-defection provisions and difference between your nominated and elected members difference. Okay, and also this itself should be an indicator as to you have to focus largely on your anti-defection provisions also and the wordings. Next we will enter 2020 prelims questions. Look at this question. Consider the following statements. The President of India can summon a session of the Parliament at such a place as he or she thinks fit. This is correct. President is the one that will summon the session. He will summon the sessions in a place that he thinks is fit. So this statement is correct. The Constitution of India provides for 3 sessions of the Parliament in a year, but it is not mandatory to conduct all 3 sessions. Now here is where, remember all this time I kept speaking about convention versus constitution. That is the same trap they are trying to use here. What does the Constitution tell means? Between one session and another session, there should not be more than 6 months time gap. That's all is what it tells. It didn't tell you have to conduct 3 sessions. Then why this question pay 3 session is there? Because in India, we conduct 3 sessions. Budget session, monsoon session, winter session. So that convention is what they are trying to confuse you by telling that Constitution of India is telling that. No, Constitution of India never told how many sessions. It only told the gap between 2 sessions should not be more than 6 months. So because of that, the statements become wrong. Now do you understand the difference between your convention and constitution trap. This is something that you have to look out for while you study also. Next, there is no minimum number of days that the parliament is required to meet in a year. Again, let's go back to the same thing. They only tell what is the time gap. It should not exceed 6 months. They are not mentioning how many minimum number of days you should meet. So they are telling no minimum number of days, which is correct. What are they asking here? Correct options, right? So the correct options are 1 and 3 only. I think by now you might be getting clear as to how your convention versus constitution trap works. President can summon a parliament at any place he wish is apt or fit according to Article 85. Constitution does not mandate any number of sessions. It only has your maximum gap should not be more than 6 months. And also there are no minimum days which are prescribed as to how many days you are supposed to meet. Why is your UPSC asking this question? Again, this 3 session is reality. That getting confused with your constitution mentioning this will make it easier to fall trap. Here is where I will be introducing something called as negative knowledge, which means you assume this is how it might be. Understanding that will act as another trap for the question. Next, look at this next question. Rajya Sabha has equal powers with Lok Sabha in. Like I told you earlier only, we have discussed this unequal powers of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha question. So now they are asking in which of these aspects Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha have equal powers. The matter of creating new All India services. Now in this Rajya Sabha has an advantage. Okay, it does not have equal power, Rajya Sabha has advantage. Second, amending the constitution. Amending the constitution, both have equal powers. Let's see next 2 options also. The removal of government. Now here is where we discussed earlier question also, principle of collective responsibility, where it is the COM, Prime Minister, all of these people are collectively responsible to Lok Sabha, which means your Lok Sabha is the one that will remove the government or pass your no confidence motions. So this is the upper hand of Lok Sabha. Making cut motions. No, again, cut motions is the power of your Lok Sabha. So in which of these they both are having equal power means only in the amendment of the constitution in these options. Okay, so exclusive power to Rajya Sabha, All India services, amending, both have equal powers, removal of government, Lok Sabha, cut motions, Lok Sabha. Why is UPSC asking this question? Again, they tend to focus more on your unequal powers, equal powers, which we have now by now understood that it is a important target area of questions. Okay, you have to understand which areas are exclusive to Lok Sabha and which area is exclusive to Rajya Sabha. Sometimes people often make the mistake of comparing Rajya Sabha and Legislative Council. No, don't ever assume those things. Rajya Sabha is an equivalent body, but they have unequal powers in certain aspects. Okay, that is how you should be looking at this. Now look at this next question. With reference to the funds under Members of Parliament Local Area Development Scheme or your MP Lards Fund, which of the following statements are correct? They are asking correct statements. MP Lards Fund must be used to create durable assets like physical infrastructure for health and education. Yes, you have to create durable assets. This is one thing that is mentioned in your MP Lards Fund itself. A specified portion of each MP's fund must benefit SC/ST population. This is also correct. Specifically 50%, 15% for SC and 7.5% for your ST. MP Lards funds are sanctioned on a yearly basis and the unused funds cannot be carried forward for the next year. No, the unused funds can be carried over. Here, look at this. Just this one simple word is making the difference. No, it can be carried forward for the next year. The district authority must inspect at least 10% of all works under implementation every year. This is correct. In order to bring in a sense of accountability, your district administration should inspect at least 10%. They are asking correct statements. The correct statements are 1, 2 and 4. Okay, so look at this. Funds should be useful for creating assets which are durable with respect to schools, hospitals, road, understanding. Then 15% for your scheduled castes, 7.5% for your scheduled tribes. Funds can be carried forward. Okay. The non-carry forward rule is called as use it or lose it, but it is not how it works here. Non-used funds will be carried forward rule. Lastly, district authority will utilize, that is, have to inspect at least 10% of the works done. Why is UPSC asking this question? Because it is the right blend of your governance scheme, polity, administration and social justice. That is your GS paper 2 summation. So carry forward is allowed, and they are also telling that you should create durable asset. Okay, so asset creation has to happen. 10% of inspection has to be overlooked by your district authority. So up until now, what and all we have discussed: finance bill, money bill difference, your Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha powers, exclusive powers of Lok Sabha, exclusive powers of Rajya Sabha, equal powers of both, anti-defection features, deputy speaker, parliamentary sessions, okay, where they can ask with respect to convention versus constitution trap, then your MP Lards fund, okay. So we were discussing state relations, parliament topic. We have discussed up until your 2020 prelims question. From now onward, we will be seeing your 2019 onwards. That is, we are going from 2025 to backwards onwards. So we'll start with 2019 prelims question. Look at this question. Now, consider the following statements. The Parliament Prevention of Disqualification Act 1959 exempts several posts from disqualification on the grounds of office of profit. So like I've been telling you, first let us make sure that we will break down bigger statements into smaller chunks or underline the keywords. So Prevention of Disqualification Act 1959 exempts several posts from disqualification on the grounds of office of profit. Second statement, the above mentioned act was amended 5 times. Wherever these kind of things are there, I have told you to write it in numerical form. It was amended 5 times. The term office of profit is well defined in the constitution. Now what are they asking from this question? Which of the above given statements are correct? Now, first and foremost, they have told that Parliament, according to this particular act, has exempted several posts from disqualification on the ground of office of profit. This is correct. The above mentioned act was amended 5 times. See, again it's telling 1959. So possibility is they would have amended over the course, because it says several posts, not everything can be done in 1959 itself. Okay, so this was amended 5 times, is also correct. Now the last statement, the term office of profit is well defined in the constitution. See, one thing if you have to understand in our constitution is nothing is defined, let alone well defined. Okay, so the defined and constitution does not sit well with each other. As soon as you see statement like that, it has to create a red flag on that. So this statement is wrong. So if you eliminate this statement itself, okay, you will be nearing your option. So the correct option is what they are asking. It is 1 and 2 only. Look at this. Statement 1 and 2 are correct is because, again, see, the concept of the term office of profit is used in the constitution means yes, it is used in the constitution in both article 102 and 109. But have they defined the term office of profit? No, they have not defined the term office of profit. And also one important thing you have to see is in constitution, not only for this, for the terms of your minorities, okay, or terms like your martial law, terms will be used but they won't be defined. So these kind of things you have to write down in one section. Okay, why is UPSC asking this question in the first place? First and foremost, simple aspect, conceptual clarity. Second is, who has the power to exempt certain powers or exempt certain offices from your office of profit. So this aspect of well defined, used in constitution, these and all you have to look into closely. Look at this next question. With reference to the Legislative Assembly of a state in India, consider the following statements. The governor makes a customary address to members of the house at the commencement of the first session of the year. Let's mark keywords. Second statement. When a state legislature does not have a rule on a particular matter, it follows the Lok Sabha rule on that matter. So what are they asking from this question? Which of the above given statements are correct? See, first and foremost, when we say with respect to governor or with the president also, they have certain things which are customary, which means they have to address the house in particular periods of time. Your governor will address the house at the beginning of each year and after your 5-year term, that is after your first Lok Sabha in your president case and legislative assembly in the state case. They have to address the house. This is the customary provision. So this is correct. Second option is, see, they're telling state legislature will usually have some law. If it does not have a particular rule, then it following the same. House of people is what we see in both places. So this is also correct. Both statements 1 and 2 are correct. Now, Article 176 states that governor must address first session after general election and first session of every year. And also 208 article states that state can make its own rules, but if they have any rules which is not there, then they can follow Lok Sabha rules. Okay, here why is UPSC asking this question? To test your concept of conventions and also your reality practices. Okay, look at this question. In India, which of the following review the independent regulators in sectors like telecommunication, insurance, electricity, etc.? So what is the question? Which of these bodies will review independent regulators like telecommunication, insurance, electricity, etc.? First one is ad hoc committee set up by the parliament. See, committees pe we have two types. Yes. Your ad hoc committees are more of temporary. Standing committees are more of permanent in nature. What is the whole point? An ad hoc committee will be set up for any particular purpose. What is that particular purpose? Like, for example, if they want to review something with respect to telecommunication, insurance or electricity, as soon as their work is done, they will be dismantled. That is why the name temporary. So ad hoc committee set up by parliament will be correct. Next, parliamentary department related standing committees. Now this we have 24 in number. Again, if the parliament tells for them to look into independent regulators like telecommunication, insurance, they will do that. So this is also correct. Next, Finance Commission. Finance Commission was in, let's say, Finance Commission ka whole purpose is with respect to see the devolution of funds between center and state, and its advice, let's say its recommendations are advisory in nature. They are not given the role to look up a review for these independent regulators. So Finance Commission is wrong. Financial Sector Legislative Reforms Commission. Now, with respect to this, from your 2013 point of time, they decided let us take a look in order to see how the financial legislation is, or what are the underlying issues of the old financial system. So it was to look up and tell about financial legislation and not about any regulators. So this is also wrong. Last is Niti Aayog. Again, Niti Aayog is a think tank whose recommendations are advisory in nature, and they are not going to review your independent regulators. So this is also wrong. What are they asking in this question? Select the correct answer. So the correct answers are 1 and 2 only. So your ad hoc committees are for your specific purpose, which means as soon as their work is done, they will be dismantled. So they will be able to review this regulators also if the parliament asks such. Your department related committees, again, they will be permanent committees who will look into the matters that are referred to them, and they are more like a oversight mechanism. Finance Commission, again we discussed it as advisory in nature. Same was with respect to your financial commission also, wherein they were specifically only to deal with your financial legislation and not any review of independent regulators. Niti Aayog is same. Why did UPSC ask this question? Now look at this. It becomes very easier to confuse in this if you don't know what these bodies are and for what purpose were they brought about. So they are trying to confuse you between your parliamentary oversight with regarding to ad hoc and standing parliamentary committees. So we will now be entering 2018 prelims questions. Look at this question. Regarding money bill, which one of the following statements is not correct? A bill shall be deemed to be a money bill if it contains only provisions relating to imposition, abolition, remission, alteration or regulation of any tax. So they are telling money bill is something that has to do with imposition, abolition, remission, alteration, regulation of any tax, which is what the article also tells. This is correct. Article 110. A money bill has provisions for custody of consolidated fund of India or contingency fund of India. Yes, here look at this, they are telling provisions for custody of it. So this is also correct. A money bill is concerned with the appropriation of money out of contingency fund of India. No, not contingency fund of India, it is consolidated fund of India. Okay, appropriation, okay, which means you can take out. Consolidated fund of India is where your money bills, so you can take money out. Contingency fund of India is more like a rainy day fund that you have in order to use it in kind of floods, disasters, those kind of things, which will be under your President of India. A money bill deals with the regulation of borrowing of money or giving of any guarantee by the government of India. That is correct. So here, what are they asking in the question? Which of the following is not correct? Your option C is not correct. Appropriation of fund out of consolidated fund of India and not contingency fund of India. So money bill under article 110 is told as to these matters should be the only one that should be discussed in that particular bill, then only it can be called as a money bill. Who will certify whether a bill is a money bill or not? It is the Speaker of Lok Sabha, and their decision is final. When they endorse it to the next house, Rajya Sabha, it will be endorsed as your money bill. Once it is endorsed as a money bill, then your Rajya Sabha has very limited powers with that bill, such as what? It can only suggest recommendations to the bill. It can't amend the bill, it can't reject the bill. Okay. Now, it can also discuss financial statements, it cannot amend or reject, it cannot vote or demand for grants. So, why is UPSC asking this question? Means because this becomes very easier for a trap kind of question between the powers of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. That is why in your previous years also we have discussed that your unequal powers of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha becomes very important. Understanding? Next question, look at this. Consider the following statements. In the first Lok Sabha, the single largest party in the opposition was Swatantra Party. Okay. In the Lok Sabha, second statement, leader of opposition was recognized for the first time in 1969. Third statement, in the Lok Sabha, if a party does not have minimum of 75 members, its leaders cannot be recognized as leader of opposition. So what are they asking in the question? Which of the above given statements are correct? Now let's look at these questions. When did the first Lok Sabha come in? Means or first general election happened First general election took place in 1951-52 period of time. In this 51-52 period of time, the first highest or largest amount of seat share to be won was your Indian National Congress. Okay, it won a landslide majority, and also of the total votes polled, they were able to secure 45% of votes, making Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru as the first democratically elected leader. The second highest seat share, if you see, was your CPI with 16 seats. Understanding? So the first statement telling that first Lok Sabha single largest party was Swatantra Party is wrong, because it was Indian National Congress. Second statement, in Lok Sabha, leader of opposition was recognized for the first time in 1969. This statement is correct even though they gave a proper formal recognition in 1970s. But the first time recognition came in your 1969. Third statement, if a party does not have minimum of 75 members, in simpler sense they are asking if you have to be leader of opposition, what is the percentage of seats you have to hold? That is 1/10 of the total number of seats of your LS, which is 1/10 of 550. Yes, so it has to be 55 seats and not your 75 seats. Here it says 75 seats. So it should have 55 members and not 75 members. So this statement is also wrong. What have they asked? Which of the above statements are correct? It is 2 only. Look at this. Swatantra Party was not the one which got the highest majority. It was Indian National Congress. In fact, it was formed very later. Next, 75 members is not the rule. It is more of your like 1/10 of the total membership of Lok Sabha. Okay. Leader of opposition recognized 1969. Statutory backing was, that is, formal recognition came in 1977. Why is UPSC asking this question? It is more of your historical sequencing in order to know the historical evolution and also legal backing of the particular houses. Next, look at this question. With reference to Parliament of India, which one of the following parliamentary committees scrutinizes and reports to the House whether the power to make regulations, rules, sub-rules, bylaws, etc. are conferred by the Constitution or delegated by the Parliament are being properly exercised by the executive within the scope of such delegation? In simpler sense, which particular committee will look into regulations, rules, sub-rules, bylaws, etc. Understanding? Committee on Government Assurances. First option. Committee on Government Assurances will only see as to your MPs, whatever assurances they are giving, is it possible, is it feasible to be made, and also how much of it has they made. Okay. So this is wrong because they do not look into your rules, by rules, sub laws and all. Committee on Subordinate Legislation. Yes, the delegated legislation on all this works will be looked after by them only. Last, Rules Committee and Business Advisory Committee. Again, these are very important houses of your Lok Sabha also, if we can say. But this is not something that will be looking into your regulation, rules and sub-laws. So, first and foremost, let's discuss why is UPSC asking this question here. So, the correct answer here is Committee on Subordinate Legislation. Okay. Why is UPSC asking this question? This becomes very important with respect to your parliamentary committees. Detailed understanding of that if you do not have, and also let's say least to prioritize these kind of committees will become easier to be trapped. Okay, because of the word here that says rules, many people will think, yes, it is rules committee. So the trap here becomes very easier. So, Committee on Subordinate Legislation examines rules, regulations, bylaws made by the executive and ensures that there is no excess or misuse of the power from your executive side. Committee on Government Assurances, like I said, it checks on your minister's promises. And Rules Committee, internal rules of the respective house. Business Advisory Committee, time allocation for discussions. Okay, no one here is specifically checking for your rules, regulations, bylaws. Usually it will be chaired by the say speaker in Lok Sabha. Okay, so here executive misuses will be specifically seen as to whether the internal functioning of the house also has a sense of accountability mechanism. Understanding? Next, look at this question. The Speaker of the Legislative Assembly shall vacate his or her office if she ceases to be a member of Assembly. So, Speaker has to vacate the Speaker's office if they stop being a member of Assembly. Second statement. Whenever the Legislative Assembly is dissolved, the Speaker shall vacate his or her office immediately. What are they wanting from this question? Which of the above given statements are correct? Now, you are a Speaker of that house is because you are also the member of that house. Once you stop holding that membership, you are no longer applicable to be the Speaker of the House. So the first statement that tells this, if you stop being the member of the House, you also have to stop being the Speaker of the House. So this statement is correct. Second statement. Whenever Legislative Assembly is dissolved, Speaker shall vacate his or her office immediately. See, this particular topic we have seen many a times in your parliament topic. Why will the Speaker vacate the office immediately if the House is dissolved? So much so that we have seen instances where they continue until new Lok Sabha or your Legislative Assembly comes in, so that there is a continuity of the office. And that to look at this word, immediately. These are your drastic trap words you have to look into. So this statement is wrong. What are they asking in this question? Which of the statements are correct? It is one only. Okay, like we discussed, Article 179 tells that speaker must be a member. If membership ends, your speaker's position also ends. Statement 2, speaker does not vacate immediately, but he will continue up until the next assembly comes in. So this provides a continuity in the office. Why is this question asked? Again, with regarding to your position of speaker and role of speaker. Next, we will be entering 2017 prelims questions. Look at this question. With reference to Parliament of India, consider the following statements. A private member's bill is a bill presented by a member of Parliament who is not elected but only nominated by the President of India. Okay. Second statement. Recently, a private member bill has been passed in the Parliament of India for the first time in history. Okay. What are they asking from this statement? Which of the above statements are correct? The first statement is determining who is a private member, who is a member minister. See, understand this. Our parliament is in such a way that your legislature only has your executive. Your executive is responsible to your legislature. The whole point of us picking the parliamentary system is so that your responsibility is prioritized. Okay. Now the MPs who go on to become ministers, look at this in this way. This Venn diagram where this legislatures and executives both are called as MPs. Now in this, the MPs who go on to become executive or ministers, they go on to form the government. Now those MPs who are non-ministers, who are outside this executive Venn diagram, they are called as non-ministers, called as private members. Okay. Private members does not have to mean that they are nominated members. Understanding? If you are a nominated member and you're a minister, you will be a minister. If you're a nominated member and you're not a minister, also a private member. If you are an MP who is not nominated and elected, but not a minister, then also you are a private member. Okay. So this understanding is very important. So when you tell a private member is one who is nominated by President of India, that statement becomes wrong. Okay. Next. Recently, a private member bill has been passed in Parliament of India for the first time in its history. See, for this statement, no, let us use a little bit of logic. When did India get independence? 1947. When did first Parliament come into picture? 52. Do you think from 1952 to 2020, this is 17, 2017, no private member bill would have been passed? So this first time in history itself is the first red flag. And the second question is recently. Now the last time a private member bill was passed was in 1970s. Understanding? So this statement also becomes wrong. They are asking what? Which of the above statements are correct? It is neither 1 nor 2. So statement 1, a private member does not have to mean a nominated MP. Any MP who is not a minister becomes a private member, and these people can introduce bills. No first time in history. The last passed bill was in 1970 by a private member bill. That was for your Supreme Court enlargement of criminal appellate jurisdiction bill. Okay. So this statement becomes wrong. Both these statements are wrong. Why is UPSC asking this question? Simpler aspect. Okay. In order to confuse in the static topics. And another intention here is the word trap questions. So we have discussed in detail about your word trap questions earlier also. So this is the next question. Look at this. The Parliament of India exercises control over the functions of Council of Ministers through adjournment motion, question, or supplementary question. What are they wanting to see from this question? Select the correct answer. In simpler sense, what are they expecting? Means Parliament of India exercise control over functions of Council of Ministers. Means they are asking, how does legislature hold government or executive accountable? Which means in which and all scenarios government is supposed to be answerable to legislature. Now let's see, in these three, is there any scenario where government is answerable to legislature? Adjournment motion, yes, that is the first thing where you have to answer. That is, if they feel like, okay, we are not having surety that this person has given us a proper information, okay. Question hour, this is the first hour of how your session will begin, by your legislature questioning the government. Third, supplementary questions. Question hour itself means that I'm going to ask a question, you're going to answer. And in that there will be certain things called as starred questions, unstarred questions, written question, oral answer needing questions. So if there is a aspect that this is a starred question, you have to answer back to me, and supplementary questions will follow. Understanding? So these are all three of the parliamentary devices where legislature holds your government accountable. What are they asking? Correct answer. So options are 1, 2 and 3. So adjournment motion, when they have to discuss matters of public importance, where they will tell this is a very important extraordinary tool which will even suspend the whatever plan that was planned for the entire day, and they will begin to discuss this. This interrupts your normal business, and this is how they hold the government accountable, and they will ask you questions as to whether what you have did is not sufficient, or what actions have you taken on this, or whether there are certain things that you have told that is not sitting well with how the reality is. All of those gets questioned here. Question are, again, your MPs will question, the ministers are bound to answer based on the type of question it is. Supplementary questions, again these are follow-up question. Why is UPSC asking this question? In order to test your parliamentary system of governance. One of the main aspect is your legislature holding government or executive accountable. Okay, and they are also trying to mix it up with your motions. Next question, have a look at this. Consider the following statements. In the election for Lok Sabha or State Assembly, the winning candidate must get at least 50% of the votes polled to be declared elected. Second statement, according to the provisions laid down in the Constitution of India, in Lok Sabha, the Speaker's post goes to majority party and deputy speakers to the opposition. What are they asking from this question? Which of the statements above given are correct? First and foremost, election of Lok Sabha or State Legislative Assembly, winning candidate. Here first understand which house they are asking, Lok Sabha or State Legislative Assembly. At least 50% of votes. Here they are asking the type of majority or type of elections that is needed to win for each house. In your Lok Sabha or State Legislative Assembly, we follow something called as first past the post system. Okay, in first past the post, let's assume there are 4 people who are contesting elections, A, B, C, D. Let's say the total number of votes is 100. 100 people have voted. In this, A has got 25. Let's say next is your note, I'll introduce this. B has got 15, C has got 10, D has got 8, remaining goes to Nota, let's assume. This is 1-5. So technically according to this statement, no one will win, because if you have to win at least 50% means at least minimum 50 seats, you have to get 51 seats. If you get, you will win. Has anyone here got 50 seats, 51 seats? No. But still, this way of how we will speak is what was past the post system is. Among these four, who has secured most? This A has secured most. Then A will be the one who will win the elections. This is the first past the post system. Another thing that we follow for your presidential, Rajya Sabha and all this is your proportional representation with single transferable vote. Okay. So, for Lok Sabha and State Legislative Assembly, we use first past the post system, where that person need not get 50% of the votes. So, this statement is wrong. Next, according to the provisions laid down in the Constitution of India, in Lok Sabha, Speaker's post goes to majority party, Deputy Speaker post goes to opposition. And most important keyword is they are telling this provision is laid down in Constitution of India. Why will Constitution tell Speaker should be from your ruling party and Deputy Speaker should be from your opposition party? This is again the word trap question of convention versus constitution. Generally what will be followed, they will claim it as Constitution told this. So Constitution has laid down no such provisions. So this statement is also wrong. What are they asking from this question? Which of them is correct? It is neither one nor two. So look at this. 50% majority is not needed because we follow first past the post for your Lok Sabha and Legislative Assembly. Someone who has just got minimum 25% to 30% of vote share can also win. Statement 2, Articles 93 and 178 both are telling the same thing, that they are not telling Speaker should be from majority or Deputy Speaker to be opposition. It is convention versus constitution kind of trap questions. Okay. Next, we will be looking into 2016 prelims questions. Look at this question. The Parliament of India acquires the power to legislate on any item in the state list in the national interest if a resolution to that effect is passed by. So the first keywords are legislate on state list on the grounds of national interest. Okay. See, Parliament can legislate on your state list on various instances. For example, when there is an emergency, okay, or when 2 or 3 states request your Parliament. But in this case, they are telling in the name of national interest, if Parliament has to legislate, then what should be the scenario? Lok Sabha by a simple majority of its total membership should pass a resolution. See, again, when we are talking about state list, let us see the houses of parliament. There are two houses of parliament. One is House of People and second is your Council of States. Which house is called as House of People? That is Lok Sabha. Which house is called as Council of States? That is Rajya Sabha. Which means this house is representing whose interests? Now, if you are going to speak about something in the state list, don't you think it should be a house that represents the interests of the state? So, interests of states here are represented in Rajya Sabha, interests of people are represented in Lok Sabha. So, we have to first eliminate which house it belongs to. The answer will be Rajya Sabha will be the one who will be responsible for the interests of states. We can eliminate Lok Sabha from the options. So, Lok Sabha by a simple majority of its total membership, because it is Lok Sabha, we can eliminate it. Where else Lok Sabha is there? Second options. Lok Sabha by a majority of not less than 2/3 of its total membership. Because it is Lok Sabha, we can eliminate this. So now the option dial downs to only C or D. Because both are telling about Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha by a simple majority of its total membership. Now again, when you are telling something in the state list, it affects the interest of all the states concerned. So simple majority won't be sufficient. This is also wrong. Rajya Sabha by a majority of not less than 2/3 of its membership present and voting. Because you need higher the consensus in order to decide something that will affect the federal feature. So for this reason, you need a higher majority. D is the correct option. So, Parliament on state list according to Article 249. Parliament can legislate when Rajya Sabha passes a resolution with not less than 2/3 of the members present and voting. Why is UPSC asking this question? In order to see with respect to the interests of the house, which interests do they represent, and another important aspect here is again the unequal powers. When we tell that also will come into focus here. Okay, look at this next question. Which of the following statements are correct? A bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses on its prorogation. See, first and foremost, what we discussed in earlier questions also is the bill lapsing becomes important concept because it's easier to confuse, and also the trap will be easier to even just interchange these words. Okay, so what is the question? Bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses on its prorogation. Okay, second statement. A bill pending in the Rajya Sabha which has not been passed by Lok Sabha shall not lapse on dissolution of Lok Sabha. What are they asking from this question? Select the correct answer. First and foremost, let's see the first statement and second statement. Here in the first statement, they are telling Lok Sabha ka prorogation. Second statement where they are telling Lok Sabha ka dissolution. So first you have to understand the difference between prorogation and dissolution. Prorogation of the house means the session ended, not Lok Sabha ended. Okay, this only meant the session ends, house is continuing. So if the house is continuing and only the session ended, then probably doesn't it mean the bill continues, it will be just pending. So the concept that the bill will lapse will become wrong. Here again the word trap question, you have to know the difference between prorogation of the house and dissolution of the house. If dissolution was happening here, yes, it might lapse, but here it's not dissolving, it is just that particular session. Let's say your budget session, winter session, monsoon session, like that session ends, house doesn't end, life of house continues, which means bill is just pending. So this statement is wrong. They are asking correct statements, right? Second, a bill pending in Rajya Sabha which has not been passed by Lok Sabha, which means Lok Sabha also has not taken any action on the bill, neither has Rajya Sabha. In this case, shall not lapse on dissolution of Lok Sabha. This is correct because neither house has taken any action yet. Okay, so the correct option is 2 only. Okay, so first statement, bill lapses on prorogation is wrong because prorogation of house does not mean dissolution of house. Bill pending in Rajya Sabha which has not yet been passed by Lok Sabha because neither of the house has taken any action on the bill, this does not lapse. Again, why is UPSC asking questions on that? But it is based on your lapsing of bills and testing your knowledge on dissolution and prorogation terms. Okay. Next we will be seeing 2015 prelims questions. Take a look at this question. Consider the following statements. The Legislative Council of a state in India can be larger in size than half of the Legislative Assembly of that particular state. Legislative Council larger than half of Legislative Assembly of that particular state. So this is a classic static question where just asking about your representation in LC versus LA. Okay. Second statement, the governor of a state nominates the chairman of legislative council of that particular state. Now, what are they asking in this question? Which of the above statements are correct? First and foremost, if we are to discuss why UPSC is asking this question, it is a very static question between your powers of LC and LA. One thing you have to understand about legislative council and legislative assembly is, yes, we may call this is the first house, this is the second house, but in no way you are to make the mistake of comparing it to Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The legislative council is merely just a revisionary body. Even in the case of ordinary bills, by and max what your legislative council can do means delay the bill by 4 months. In both first and second instance put together, it can just delay the bill by 4 months. But that is not same for your Rajya Sabha. It can outright reject a bill. That is one thing, just to show the difference of powers between LA and LC. Second scenario is the very existence, okay, the very existence of legislative council is dependent on your legislative assembly. If that is the case, then do you think legislative council can be larger in size than half of legislative assembly? No, it is fixed at 1/3 of your legislative assembly. So this statement is wrong. Okay, it will just be 1/3 of LA. Next, the governor of a state nominates chairman of legislative council. Why will he nominate the chairman of members of legislative council? They will be picked among themselves. If at all there is something that governor nominates in legislative council, it will be few of the members. Here is where we will see how your legislative council seats are filled up. Few are by your local self bodies, few are by your franchise of your adult franchise of your teachers, students, understanding. So here next will be your governor nominating certain members for your legislative council. Governor nominates only members of LC, not all of them, just few. The chairman will be picked among themselves. So this statement is also wrong. What are they asking? Which of the above statements are correct? It is neither 1 nor 2. So council cannot be larger than assembly. According to Article 171, the maximum strength is 1/3 of the strength of assembly. Next statement 2, governor does not appoint the chairman. By and max what he does is he will only nominate some of the members for your legislative council. The chairman of legislative council will be elected by themselves only among your council members. So what is this UPSC trying to test? Between your difference of powers, size and your house strength and powers of legislative council and legislative assembly. Next, look at this question. Consider the following statements. The Rajya Sabha has no power either to reject or amend a money bill. Okay. Second statement, the Rajya Sabha cannot vote on demand for grants. Third statement, Rajya Sabha cannot discuss the annual financial statement. What are they asking in the question? Which of the above statements are correct? First and foremost, why is UPSC asking this question? Simple, it is to test the powers, or like I keep telling you, bicameral difference of powers between your Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, uneven powers. Okay. Now here Rajya Sabha has no power to either reject or amend a money bill is correct, because again we have seen many a times in the same chapter itself that introduction of money bill, okay, is your exclusive power of Lok Sabha. As soon as a money bill is now, who will even certify whether a bill is money bill is only Speaker of Lok Sabha, not the chairman of Rajya Sabha. He has no powers as such. So when this bill is certified as money bill, it will be endorsed also in the second house similarly. As soon as it is a money bill, Rajya Sabha has very limited powers, meaning what? It cannot amend it, it cannot reject it, maximum it can do is suggest recommendations. Those recommendations also can be accepted or rejected by your Lok Sabha. If it takes no action by 14 days, it is considered the bill is passed. So this statement is correct. It has no power to either reject or amend the money bill. Second statement, Rajya Sabha cannot vote on demand for grants. It is specifically your power of Lok Sabha. Again, these two are your powers of Lok Sabha. Understanding? Next, Rajya Sabha cannot discuss the annual financial statement. No, it cannot vote on it, but it can discuss on this. Like we saw, it cannot vote on demand for grants, but it can discuss. Okay, this is a classic word trap question. So this is wrong. What are they asking? Which of the above given statements are correct? It is 1 and 2 only. Understanding? Next question. Look at this. When a bill is referred to a joint sitting, both the houses of the parliament has to be passed by. In simpler sense, we are just asking about your joint sitting. Again, in bill lab scenarios also many questions has come with regarding to your joint sitting question. If they are coming for a joint sitting, then how should they vote? Now, if you see the strength of your Lok Sabha, let's say 543 now, overall strength, let's take 550 and 250. If they both come, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha both are coming and sitting, that is why it is called joint sitting. Who has a numerical advantage? Lok Sabha. So, if Lok Sabha is the one that will be passing it in the joint sitting or among both of them with just a simple sitting also, the chances are it is going to favor your Lok Sabha only. So, what are the options? Simple majority of members present and voting. It will usually lean towards your Lok Sabha. Why? Because of your numerical strength it has over Rajya Sabha. This statement is correct. 3/4 majority of members present and voting? No. 2/3 of the majority of the house? No, this statement is also wrong. Absolute majority of the house? No, this statement is also wrong. Correct statement is simple majority of the members present and voting. Usually, when will a joint sitting be called? When there is a deadlock between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha arising. In order to come to a feasible solution, they will go for joint sitting. So, how are they supposed to vote? With just simple majority of members present and voting. Now, the 3/4 majority or 2/3 majority, the 2/3 majority is usually used for your constitutional amendment bills. If it is any federal features involved, it is also involving half of the state ratification with simple majority. Okay. So, here UPSC is just mixing all the types of majorities and asking the question with regarding to joint sitting. Okay. Overall, what we have discussed is governor's address, state legislature rules, parliament, let's say parliament's role on the state list and how and when parliament can legislate on state list, legislative council strength, the speaker, when will he vacate the office, what point of time will be, let's say if it is just the house dissolved or whether the person itself has lost the membership, money bill definition, Rajya Sabha's power with respect to money bill. So here is where we will be discussing your equal and unequal powers with respect to the other house, annual financial statements, your money bill again, joint sitting, and also the powers of your speaker and deputy speaker. This is the summation of what we have discussed. With this, we've come to the end of the content. If you like our content, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, share it along with your friends. Thank you very much.